This episode brought to you by Audible.
I
guess I'm the only non-robot.
As an
Will
alien.
you be my robot-y?
Oh, I will be your robot.
That is so sweet.
Mikey's talking like a robot because today he has a sci-fi book recommendation.
I'm going to recommend Artemis by Andy Weir.
Ooh, that sounds like a lady book.
Didn't he write The Martian?
He did write The Martian, which is one of my favorite novels of all time.
How'd you know that, Todd?
You guys were just talking about
I
it.
did, yes. And the protagonist is a female in this one, and it was very enjoyable.
So go to audibletrial.com/horrorvirgin for 30 days free and a book to get you started and make that book Artemis. This episode also brought to you by Nick B.
What up, Nick B?
Fun fact about Nick B.
That Jen found.
This is why he's so nice. He's a grandfather.
He
What?
is.
Yeah.
We think.
I have always thought Nick B was like our age.
I know, me too.
And I don't have kids. Mikey, do you have a wife and kids?
Not that I know of.
You would know if you had a wife, though, right?
I don't know.
Estranged, clearly. Estranged. Okay. Well, that's awesome. He's got a grandkid.
That is really cool. And he bought him one of those flippy sequined Jurassic Park shirts. And it's awesome.
Oh, I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see it on Twitter, Todd?
I did.
I wonder how you
it on
said
Twitter.
it.
I
found
mean,
it on Twitter.
technically, I did.
Todd showed it to me on Twitter.
I'm the one who found all of this stuff, and they're trying to steal my thunder. Nick B, you're awesome. And your grandson
Nick B,
sounds cool, too.
You are awesome.
We
and if you're
appreciate you, Nick B.
We really do.
Yeah, absolutely. This episode also brought to you by
John, who is also awesome.
Still alive, huh?
Jeez.
My God. Well, John, you've thwarted my attempts for another week.
What do you have, like assassin squads out to get John?
I'm too lazy for all that shit.
Well, no, that's why you send squads. You don't go yourself.
Right, exactly.
Mikey, you're a madman
I
behind
can't
the
even
scenes.
get on Craigslist or what is it?
Tinder.
No.
Is there a Hitman Tinder? Hey guys,
they got a lot
I have an app idea.
Is it Jenny's List? What's the other one with the about the appliances?
You're thinking of Amy's List.
Is it
yeah.
Amy's List?
Yeah.
God, they no help.
I do like that your John B facts are like subtle Mikey facts.
Your John B has a problem with commitment.
Well, there's no evidence to the contrary.
So, guys, it has come time.
Is that time?
It is that time.
It's that time of the
done?
month. I think I made that joke last
It
time.
is that time of the month, Jen, where we celebrate the Burn It Down level Patreon
We do.
subscribers. And we actually added some new ones this month.
did, yay,
so
I'm
we
so
want to
excited.
celebrate all of them. And used to be just 3, and now we've leveled up to 5.
I know,
Which is
yay.
insane.
Do we
guys are so
really?
awesome.
Yeah. Big thank you to our Burn It Down Patreon subscribers. Eddie, as you guys have heard
Yes.
his name before.
Hey, Eddie.
Veronica.
Who just got married.
Who just got
Congratulations.
married.
Yeah. Eddie, what's going on
Congratulations.
in your life? We want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, send us some fun facts.
Karen, or is it Karoon? Because it's
How do you spell it? Is it K
R-U-N.
Karun, which I like.
Oh, I
I like
that.
it too,
It's
but
cool.
I'm afraid we're saying it wrong. So
I
Yeah.
thought
Karen,
it was my mom, but then I realized she doesn't support me in my endeavor.
So Karon, tell us
Yeah,
if we're
tell
saying
us.
it wrong.
And tell
so
us
sorry.
some fun facts we can share about you, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have 2 new ones.
We do. We're so excited.
We have Ash, who is a member of the
do.
Facebook group, I believe.
Yes.
And Michael.
Michael, hey guys, welcome to the party.
So thank you guys so much. Ooh,
Sorry.
Patreon content.
So Mike, Ash, Eddie, Veronica, and Karen, thank you guys so much for being Burn It Down levels. You guys are amazing, and you guys really do help us. So if you want your weekly or monthly shout outs, go to patreon.com/horrorvirgin and sign up for one of the levels there. We've got a lot of great content. We had lunch yesterday to decide on some new awesome Patreon content. So we'll have some more stuff coming your way
excited.
soon. And guys, if you can't support us, we appreciate you just telling your friends and family about the show like you guys have clearly been doing, because we're on track to do way more downloads this month than we have in the previous months.
Knock on wood.
That really hurt my
Todd,
hand.
You moved the
hand.
mic closer to it.
And don't hit it
This is
so
why you're our
hard.
Foley guy.
I know.
All right, guys.
Oh, hey, guys, can we bring the theme music in?
Yes,
No.
but don't sing it.
Catchphrase. Mikey likes it.
Oh, my God. You can't say catchphrase before you say what you want to be your catchphrase. Catchphrase. I got a big old dick. You can't just do that.
I mean, welcome to the Horror Virgin, everyone. I'm not sure what's happening, but I think Mikey's on the hunt for a catchphrase this episode. Look out, listeners.
Oh, man. That was fucking funny. All right.
I'm Jen.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm your catchphrase, Horror Virgin Todd Awesome. Which means I don't like scary movies, and you guys, and when I say you guys, I mean the listeners this week, make me watch scary movies, specifically Pandorum this week.
Yeah, because this was our listener request episode.
Yeah, and honestly, I know, Mikey, you've seen it before, right?
Yeah,
we were talking about it before. So it was Jen and Mai's first time.
Yeah.
And I didn't hate this movie.
I liked it.
It was scary. I probably wouldn't watch it again, but I liked the story of this movie. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I was into it.
Although technically not a space movie. We'll get there.
And our category this month was space horror.
It's space horror. Yeah. If it's
guys, just so you know, we're going to spoil this movie if this is your first episode.
Yeah, we're definitely doing spoilers.
We always spoil it.
So, yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. Mikey, this is your second watch, right?
I think it's probably my third. I saw it in theaters. I probably watched it on HBO. Okay. And I think it holds up. I like it as a movie. I like science fiction movies, as everybody probably knows. So it's got a great plot, and I love Dennis Quaid, and I love Ben Foster, and
I like
Mikey likes it. Catchphrase.
Yeah. Oh my god!
You're supposed to say catchphrase before it.
It was your first watch, Jen. Did you like it?
It was my first watch, and I did really like it. Now I'm going to amend my statement from the Alien episode.
What?
Because I got a lot of shit for this.
Yeah, you did, because it was ridiculous.
I'm going to clarify. I'm going to amend my statement from the Alien episode where I said it's hard for me to relate to space horror because I've never been to space.
Right.
I'm going to add more to it. Mikey is going to shut up so I can finish my thought.
I'm just giggling.
Todd is too.
You've never fought a milk robot?
I haven't. No. Okay, so here's the thing about space horror. I'm not really that into sci-fi. I think it's wonderful that so many people are. It's really cool. It's great. It's just not my thing. I'm not interested in going to space. I'm not really interested in space documentaries. It's just not a thing for me. So if you're going to hook me into your movie, there has to be something other than space that I can connect to, like a strong character.
Well, I think your end result was you did like Aliens.
I did like Aliens because I like Ripley, but that's the thing. It's not. I didn't like it because of the space.
So you wouldn't like a Star Trek.
Exactly.
But you do like Aliens.
Yeah, or I liked the Star Trek movie because it's cool action. I like that. I like Sunshine because I like Cillian Murphy. I like
Wangy.
Am I right? So what I'm saying is there's got to be something more than space or science fiction to hook me in. And if there is, and there's something I can connect to, then I'll probably really like the movie. But if there's not, the space itself is not enough.
So what I hear you saying is that you like good science fiction and don't like bad science fiction.
I like science fiction when there's something more to it.
That's good science fiction.
Yeah, but you liked Event Horizon.
Yeah, because I like the whole portal to hell thing.
And you liked Alien.
I did like Alien.
And you like this.
Yeah. But
I honestly think you've liked every sci-fi movie we've watched.
Well, we haven't watched very many. But so look, if it's your thing, that's fantastic.
But you like the good ones. I think it might be your thing if we keep showing you good science fiction films.
If there's something other than the science in it, yes.
The science doesn't make the movie, Jen. It's the fiction.
Exactly.
Nailed it. What are you, Jules Verne? That hack?
What? No.
Jules Verne's the worst. H.G. Wells all day. I'll fight a motherfucker over H.G. Wells. Jules Verne, he didn't write things that were science or fiction.
What?
He just said, what are his books?
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea?
Yeah, that exists in nature.
The sea?
That is neither science nor fiction.
I think he wrote...
H.G. Wells wrote A Time Machine,
which is
that is science fiction.
Yeah, that's a weird book.
I don't know if you have time to commit to a whole series, but I would really love for you to watch the Firefly series because it's like a sci-fi western.
I want to do a spin-off podcast, Science Fiction Virgin, as Jen is the Virgin.
I would do this. And I would...
Now, let me say, I would watch Firefly because I like Joss Whedon and I like Andrew Tudyk. So those are the things that would hook me in. If you're the
Science Fiction Virgin, we pick the films.
No, that's okay.
But no, seriously, I would love to see you. I'd love to hear what you thought about it. All right, let's get into this fucking movie, though.
So we start with a timeline coming on the screen, and they are looking for Earth-like planets. And in 2009, they figured out that Earth was fucked. And this is a timeline where people actually believe science that we are destroying the Earth. And so they started looking for alternate plans. Well, actually, maybe it's the same timeline because nobody did anything to save Earth.
Until it was too late.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Earth is fucked. So they're on the Elysium ship speaking Russian.
Yeah, why are they speaking Russian? I don't understand that. No one speaks Russian once the movie starts. Oh, the Russian was a transmission from Earth.
Oh, yeah,
It wasn't on the ship.
That's right.
That's it. Okay.
Russia had taken over.
Decoded it.
They did. So the transmission says, "You're all that's left of us. Good luck. God bless and Godspeed. We fucked it all up. There's nothing you can do. You're on your own."
Oh my God, that's my breakup message.
Mikey's gotten many of those texts.
No, I send that out as a form letter.
Yeah. You just get it notarized every time.
Jesus Christ, Mikey.
All right. But we see everyone just standing watching this transmission in the code room. And fun fact, the main captain is the head hunter, just not in makeup. He was like the Bowser.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Yeah. No shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is. I know. It's really cool. I've got some more fun facts about that stuff. All right. So we see an interesting looking guy standing behind him who may have some mischievous thoughts in his head or something. So we see some girl's face and then we see...
I mean, honestly, that's all we see. She has 0 lines in the movie, but she's in the movie like 5-6 times.
So we see her face just in flashes, and then we see Ben Foster freaking out in a stasis pod.
I like this part because he's got a face mask on. He's got tubes all in him.
Mm-hmm. He's not in a bunch of green goo.
No.
Which I prefer.
Although when he gets out, he's wearing like a protective skin coating.
Yeah, it's like wax that's melted on his skin.
That is a good description. It looks like melted candle wax.
Or like latex all over you that you have to rip off.
And so he gets out of this pod and he starts like freaking out and pulling all this stuff out. And he pulls this giant thing out of his arm.
Oh, man, that was gross. Yeah,
gross.
I was looking away.
Now he's like got his green space light and he's walking around looking for stuff. He finds his jacket.
It's a glow stick.
It's like a glow stick, yeah. But a big glow stick.
Space glow stick,
yeah.
though.
He's going to a space rave.
So he finds his jacket in his locker and he's talking about having like extreme memory loss from extended hypersleep.
Yeah, I did sort of like this, although it is, I don't know, a little tropey, but I liked it.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, because there's nobody around. He's trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And he tries to wake up Lieutenant Peyton.
Yeah, he's like beating on it with a crowbar on Peyton's stasis pod.
And I like how they're doing this because we see them from the outside, and so we see their name, so we immediately know who they are.
Yeah.
And we hear them scream, or we see them screaming, but we can't hear anything. And it's just a really cool effect because we keep going in and out of it. But he can't get into the stasis pod.
No, because they're made to be like...
No, because it's futuristic technology. Beating on it with a crowbar obviously will never work.
You have to have a future crowbar.
And those space pods are also made to be shot into space. So they're made to like hold up under crazy conditions. So there's no way you're getting in.
So now he's space razor shaving, and that's really cool.
It was cool. Like it was a cool effect. And for 2009, it was pretty good.
He totally would have shaved his privates as well.
Yeah, you got
Maybe
a
he did.
manscape.
Yeah, he should have manscaped. I mean, like if it's that easy.
So now somebody else is awake, and it's Dennis Quaid. And I love Dennis Quaid. Yeah.
But he has also forgotten loads of shit.
Yeah. And they know they're aboard the Elysium, which is the spaceship that they said at the beginning, but they don't know where anyone else is. And they're on like the 5th ship, and they're trying to figure out like where the ship that was supposed to relieve them is.
It wasn't a ship; it was a crew. I really like this because
the shift. That's what I said.
Shift. I'm sorry, I think it's ship. Sorry, I really liked this part because it is like. You know, they were supposed to be woken up by a space crew. They weren't, and they have to find out what happened to them, but their memories sort of gone.
So it's like
this big back and forth of like what happened to them, what happened to us, what happened to the ship.
It's a journey of many, many years. There's always a crew of 3 awake, and they shift off every few years. Who stays awake?
Yeah. So one crew goes into stasis as
they wake up the other crew.
Yeah. So
I think they high five and then they go to sleep.
Yeah. They said it's like they're 2-year shifts. Mm-hmm. So like if we were all on a crew, we were crew 1.
We would crash this.
Like 10 days before we go back into stasis, we wake up crew 2. They take over. We go into stasis for 10 years. We get woken up to do another 2-year shift, right?
Yeah.
So I liked it a lot because it was like, what the fuck would you do if you woke up and there was no one there? And they quickly start to find bodies and like, so it's, I mean,
and the lights are off.
And they don't know what's going on.
And there's power surges going on to the ship. I thought this did a really good job of building tension for me.
I think so too.
Because there are a lot of unanswered questions and their memory loss kind of serves that purpose. As they start to get it back, they start to realize things, but like you wake up like no idea what's happening.
Right. And I liked this because this is kind of the beginning mystery of the movie is what the fuck's going on. And then it kind of transitions to another movie. And I think it does a really good job of maintaining tension throughout the whole thing.
I agree.
Kind of about different plot lines, but I think they swap those plot lines off really well.
Yeah.
All right. So now they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. So they get into some kind of like operations room.
They're locked out of the bridge. So they're in their stasis room, and there is like a control station there, like a desk where you can log into the computer system.
Reception.
Yeah, it is sort of like reception, but the bridge is like shut down. You can't get in.
Yeah.
And there's no real power in that room. So they have to hand crank a thing 3 times.
Yeah.
And then the thing is
powers
fully
up.
operational.
You guys, weather radio technology has come so far.
I didn't realize that the NOAA administration was going to take over power production, but
he literally cranks that thing 7 times and like all the lights in the room come on. It's like, thank God we have auxiliary power of crank.
Right.
yeah, this whole ship is run by crank and squeeze power.
That's true.
100%.
And actually, I liked that because I didn't want to hear a bunch of science nonsense about trying to like activate codes and stuff.
I really liked it too. Like you can conceive that technology probably exists
Exactly.
in the future.
That didn't bother me at all. I thought it was great.
Okay, so they hand crank everything on and they're trying to get a signal and they're starting to remember a little bit, but the ship keeps shaking.
Yeah, so there's like lights are going on and off and like going. It is straight up like lightning on the ship. Well, not lightning. You don't have bolts of electricity, but like lights and stuff flashing on.
It's like
off.
someone turns the power on for like 5 seconds at a time.
Yeah, which comes into play because some things are not operational on the ship unless we're in a power surge, which comes into play later.
All right, so now they're trying to figure stuff out. And Ben Foster, the thing that he can remember is like how to do his job because he's like a space engineer or something. So he's trying to find the reactor. He's crawling through these tunnels with tubes on the sides or something.
Well, yeah, because Dennis Quaid wants to get into the bridge.
Right.
And they're slowly starting to get their memory back. So he knows he's in charge because Dennis Quaid's a lieutenant, right?
Right.
Ben Foster is... I almost called him 310 to Yuma. Ben Foster is a corporal, so he is doing what the lieutenant tells him.
Right.
And they're trying to climb through the air duct sort of thing where the tubes are to get into the bridge area to open the door from the bridge side.
Not only can they not get in the bridge, they can't get to the rest of the ship. That's why they have to go.
Yeah, because they're locked out. Yeah.
They said, what, in the trunk or something?
Yeah, we're sort of stuck in the trunk.
So he's crawling through these things, and there's a space spider, which is freaky. And then we start to hear noises, and Ben Foster starts to kind of panic. I think he's getting claustrophobic. Like he's really disoriented. He can't tell what the hell's going on. And he gets to one place, and he drops his little green space stick down, and it just never hits the bottom.
Oh, yeah, it's like real far.
Right. And that's when the space spider comes, and he just feels like it's on him the whole time.
Yeah, he's on these little tubes, and there's like a lot of like hoses in there, and it's like really creepy.
It is creepy.
There's at least one spider.
So I really like this part because he starts to freak out, and Dennis Quaid's trying to calm him down.
Oh, I love this too, because Dennis Quaid's like, well, what if I told you I got the door open?
Exactly. Just kidding.
Yeah, that seems sort of like a dick move.
It does. But it calms him down. It takes him out of the moment.
He sort of laughs about it,
Yeah, I liked that part. I felt like they were on the same team at that point.
Yeah, me too.
And so he figures out at this point that someone's been here before. And this is when he figures out that he's at an angle because the sweat's dripping down and he falls down like face first into a grate.
Oh, yeah.
And I wonder how he just didn't die.
I think his foot got caught up in the hose.
Yeah,
he didn't hit it full on.
Yeah, he didn't. You see him sort of grab the hoses too, and he sort of doesn't hit it as hard as he could.
You know what they say? Hose before nose. Boom!
Jen, everybody's tired of your sexual jokes.
Jen.
Before his nose hits the grate.
Jen, they're sex workers. And they're valuable people to society.
This is why the patriarchy or whatever.
Yeah.
I know.
You're a part of it, Jen.
I know. We all are. We got to fight. We got to burn it down. So we've got hose before nose, and he's just hanging out there on his nose.
He is. He's like nose squished against a grate. So before, when Ben Foster and Quaid woke up, there's also another stasis pod that was empty, and it was their third member of their flight crew, Cooper. And we see Cooper in this or against this grate too, dead skeleton.
Yeah, he looks like he definitely drank the wrong cup in Last Crusade.
Yeah, it does look like that. Yeah, because he's like it looks like he's been dead for like 100 years,
mummified.
Yeah. So how early did he wake up?
Really?
Maybe about 100 years ago. But I don't know if you guys saw this. At the end of the movie, they've been on the planet for about 900 years.
So who knows?
Yeah.
And I mean, even like a year or two, maybe, depending on what the conditions are under the sea, would make your face do that, you know?
The ship is sealed off from the sea, everyone. Okay? This is the last time I'm going to talk about this.
I don't know why you keep getting so mad about it?
Because the whole breach at the end is what makes it eject all the pods, and there wasn't a whole breach until
Jen, all that salt water just to his skin, what that would do to him.
I think so too.
I've got enough salt right here from this conversation.
All right. So now they've lost the connection, and so they're both kind of trying to get him back on the line. And Ben Foster's wandering around, and he starts to hear banging.
Yes.
And then we see I think it's a lady in the hallway, and I think her name is Naomi.
Oh, is it?
IMDb?
I honestly didn't even catch a name, but there aren't a shitload of characters.
There aren't.
So she just became girl in my mind.
I've called her lady.
But I mean, she's not.
So her name is Nadia.
Nadia, okay.
Yeah, but I didn't pick that. I got that from IMDb because I don't remember if she ever said
No one
it.
calls anyone by any name in this whole movie.
We know Ben Foster's name because it's on his jacket.
Exactly.
And that's it.
Yeah, because it's
in their
on their
little
clothes.
pods. It's on their pods, too.
Right.
Yeah.
But people who are not pod birthed in this movie, we don't know their names. And they really don't say them. But honestly, like if you're in that situation, I'm not going to be like, hey, chick who's been living in this ship that has reavers on it, what's your name? Let's talk before we have to run away from things killing us.
So there's a lady in the hallway, but she runs away from him.
Yeah.
And then she's...
Been there, Ben Foster.
Yeah, I know. I know what that feels like, Ben.
Hi. Oh, to come back.
And he's yelling at her and she won't respond.
No, she's running away because she knows the reavers are going to come get him.
Yes. I learned what reavers are, and I imagine,
Sorry. Reavers are from Firefly. If you haven't seen Firefly, it's a Joss Whedon TV show.
But he's yelling at her and she won't respond. And then turns out it wasn't her. She's already run away. This was a dead body that's just hanging in the hall.
Yeah.
And his intestines are all ripped out.
He's just hanging out.
And
Yeah, it's
well, that's
gross.
because there are traps all around the ship that literally trap people who come out of pods.
Right.
And then the reavers come collect them and eat them.
Yes. And so out of the blue, the lady punches him now, and she kind of tries to cut him with a knife or something.
No,
I'm
she
not even
says
sure what this
something that's like, you stay here. And then she like mugs him.
And she says, take your shoes off.
Yeah, because when he walks around the ship, he's like clanking, clanking, clanking.
Right.
And when she's like soft leather footed.
Yeah. So she's kind of helping him out a
She's
little
helping
bit.
him, but also stealing from
But
him.
she could say, hey, there are monsters. Look out. But
She doesn't say that, but he quickly finds out. And honestly, I think she would have told him that if they had more time. But when she tells him to take his shoes off, that's when they start to hear the reavers coming. So she just bolts. She's like, I'm giving you as much information as I can very quickly, but I don't care about you.
Right.
I'm going to make sure I survive.
I don't know that you're the key to saving all of us yet.
Right.
All right. So then the body gets yanked up and we start to hear squelchy eating sounds. And
Yes.
yuck.
So the reavers look like naked Skeletor from He-Man with like metal sticking out of them.
Yeah.
And they have like cool like melee weapons and blowtorches.
And a little bit of the Descent monsters.
They look a lot like Descent monsters,
They do.
absolutely,
And
except
I-
they can see.
And I think that's part of why I liked this movie so much, is because it reminded me so much of The Descent.
I really liked this part because Ben is laying on his back. She says, take your shoes off. He gets up to start taking his shoes off. They hear the sound of the reavers, and he looks down the hallway, and we follow his focus and look at the hallway. And then we cut back to Ben Foster, and she is just gone. I loved that because she's like, fuck you, I'm out. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she's not the only person who will do that in this movie.
This movie could basically be called Ben Foster Falls from Places.
holy shit, he falls a lot.
Yes. Yeah. We've been kind of glancing over it, but he's fallen because after he falls down that thing, his hose before nose moment, then he falls out of a shoe compartment. He's going to fall another couple of
He
times.
falls out of boot storage.
He does.
At this point in the film, he's fallen pretty big 6 times.
At
Exactly.
least.
We're only 10 minutes in.
And will fall more.
He falls the whole movie.
And not like tripping over things, like falling from great heights. He doesn't have an unbroken rib.
But
Ben
you know
Foster
what?
is falling for you
Aww.
and all of humanity.
But you know what? He gets back up.
All right, so Ben gets up and runs away from the reavers.
Yeah. And
Nadia's her name?
Yeah, Nadia.
Nadia has run away.
Yeah.
And Ben runs back to the room he came out of, like the boot storage room.
Right.
And then kicks his light bright, what are those things?
Green space stick.
He throws the space glow stick away so it's no longer right in front of the door that he came out of, and then goes in there, and then the reavers run by to the glow stick.
Yeah, and we see just a little glimpse of it, and it reminded me a lot of Bowser with like spikies, extra spikies.
Do you mean from Mario?
So we see Bowser run past, and then he gets the guy that was hanging from the ceiling and drags him away. And for a second, second, I thought he got Ben Foster.
Well, because one of the cannibals crawls up and starts stabbing into the locker.
Yeah.
And Ben like puts the body on the thing and he drags it
it's
away.
Cooper. It's his friend.
Yes, yeah.
Or maybe not friend, but
And it's
other
sad.
flight crew
It's
member.
the dead body we saw earlier.
Yeah, it's
and he
not
gets
him.
pulled out and taken away and probably eaten.
And then it cuts to Ben Foster being like, yo, Dennis Quaid,
Yeah.
shit's real bad. There's
What
like
the fuck?
aliens and shit, and then people are dead, and there's bodies. And
I fell so many times.
this kid's like, he's in his room that he's cranked up, and it looks really safe. He's like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Can you just
We're gonna
fix
talk
all
about this
that?
later.
I'm going to
Exactly.
stay in here.
I'm going to stay in here for the entire movie.
Guys, he does that.
He really does, yeah.
He has his own demons to battle.
He does.
Demons,
Oingy blanky.
Yeah, but he does not leave that room the entire
He's
movie.
kind of a shitty supervisor.
Yeah.
He is every supervisor I've ever had.
Right, like I'm gonna stay here at my hand crank desk.
Yeah.
Like I got Spotify cranked up 10 cranks, and like I need you to crawl through the ship, reset the reactor, and fight the aliens and come back.
Yeah.
So he starts talking to Dennis Quaid, and Dennis Quaid exposition dumps just a little bit.
But it's good. Like
It is,
because
yeah.
and this happens quite a bit because they start to remember pockets of information, right? So
and I
what does
kinda
Denny
like
Quaid
that.
say?
Denny Quaid.
Yeah.
And I like how they're doing that. Like they just sprinkle in little bits, but it makes sense because they are just remembering it.
Yeah, so I called it a trope earlier, and normally trope has like a negative connotation, and I
Right.
do think other movies have done this sort of thing badly.
Like when John Tesh comes on the screen to explain it.
John Tess coming on screen to kind of remind us what's going on. This movie would have really benefited from that.
It's like an alien John Ted.
He's got like a scuba suit or something. He just swims up.
This would have been a really good video game because that's a kind of a trope that video games use. It's like,
is.
Hey, this is the guy that making you do everything by yourself, like in
Yeah.
a video game. I just remembered.
Yeah.
Earth's dead.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's got a lot in common with Resident Evil.
Yes.
You know, which
Yes.
is a
It
video
does sort
game.
of feel like one of those type of games.
And that's why, fun fact early, Paul W.S. Anderson was one of the producers on this. And he also produced and I think directed the Resident
This would be
Evil
right
films.
around the same time as
It
like
was a
Resident
little
Evil 2.
after, but yeah, like after the first one.
But anyway, so I like the trope in this movie.
I do too,
I think
because
they
I
pull
think
it
they
off
pull it
well.
off. And it's
Yeah.
like in found footage, if you can figure out an interesting way for there to be a camera, it works.
Yeah,
But
and I
if
think
not,
VHS nailed that. And
Exactly.
whereas other found footage, I don't think did. Although I
Right.
think Grave Encounters did a good job
I
of
do
that too.
So he's talking to Dennis Quaid, and Dennis Quaid is saying there's no rescue. Nobody's coming to rescue us because the ship wasn't built to return, and they're the cargo. And this is when we see a flashback to little baby Ben Foster with a tiny little kid mohawk, and he's
He
watching.
was a cute kid.
Yeah,
a
he
cute
was.
Kid. He's watching this gigantic television future screen.
We have those TVs now, Jen. It's not like that wasn't
It's
super
called a
futuristic.
flat screen back in
Yeah.
2009.
So, anyways, they found a new planet called Tanis.
Tanis, that's the name of
Yeah, and Tanis is very similar to Earth.
it. Okay, do you know anything about Tanis?
Well, I heard that the atmosphere is kind of weird because you're going to get that dreaded Tanis elbow.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, that's the worst, man. It's one of those pains that's like more annoying than hurt, but it's
Yeah.
persistent. Oh,
You have to deal with it.
I hate it.
That's one of the costs of colonization.
Yeah, I got Tanis needles. So we've got rover footage landing on Tanis.
Yeah, it's sort of like the Mars rover, but like a beefed
Exactly.
up version that can do a lot more. And there's
Yeah.
cameras on it, and they're showing live footage of it finding plants and realizing that the atmosphere is inhabitable for humans. So it's a place that they can feasibly go. And since
Right.
no one paid attention when every scientist in the world was saying, hey, climate change is a thing,
Exactly.
and we're fucking over our planet. So now they have to leave the planet.
Right.
So they're
So
like,
they're
yay,
settlers.
we can, at least some of us will have civilization.
Exactly. Humanity will continue.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're settlers, and he's having these flashes of this blonde girl that he apparently left.
By the way, do you guys know Tanis at all?
No.
Tanis was a lost city and was featured in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, interesting. Fun
Yeah.
fact with that.
Nailed it. There's also a really creepy podcast called Tanis. I've only listened to the first season of it. It was years ago, but I remember it being very creepy.
What's it about?
I listened to it a long time ago, so forgive me if this is a little bit off, but it's like a narrative fiction podcast, sort of like Death, Dying, and Other Things, but it's super creepy.
So, but he's trying to figure out if he did leave this woman behind or if she's on board because her, as a family member, she would have come with him. And Dennis Quaid saying, no, dude, we got to get control of this ship first.
Right, then we can find our wives.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
this is when he gets his non-lethal handgun glove thing, which is pretty cool.
The Nintendo Power Glove, which is also run on grip power. So he has to
Yeah.
pump it up by doing a grip like 6 times
And
to
he's
get
got
full
to push
power.
the little basketball on his shoe a couple of times too.
It is like It's like they invented the pump-up shoe, and then they were like, this is everything.
It's like they watched Back to the Future 2 and just decided to make all of that their technology.
That's the world I want to live in.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm on board for that. Hang on, bad guys. I gotta get pumped. You squeeze the.
Time for me to start my car. Hey, crank it up.
Yeah, I like it.
So now Ben Foster's talking to Dennis Quaid, and his hand's starting to shake, and he's talking about the symptoms of Pandorum. And so Pandorum is a condition, and I've got some fun facts about this, but it's kind of like just a lot of paranoia, kind of compounded by the fact that you're in space and you're kind of having panicky feelings. And that
it's like closed room, like you are in a finite space, and that could be. I'm not super claustrophobic, but that scares me.
It does too. And this is kind of what really hooked me into this movie. One is that I really liked The Descent, and two, just like the feeling of paranoia and not knowing what's going on. I really liked that. But he's talking about this old captain from the Eden ship, or I think it's the Eden ship.
Eden.
But that Eden. Okay. Oh, I got it.
And this is where, it's not eaten. Yeah. It's not like, oh, hand me that fork. That pudding looks good. I might be eating it.
Welcome to the USS Shoney's.
It was launched from Georgia. The captain from the Eden ship got Pandorum, and
this is when we start talking about what Pandorum is,
right?
Which, because at the beginning I was like, the ship's called Elysium. What the fuck is Pandorum?
Right. So Pandorum, it's this condition that you get in space, and it's like a form of paranoia, caused by deep space, but triggered by emotional stress.
I thought it was caused by stasis.
Yeah, so
it can be
long stay. It's a space psychosis.
Yes. Yeah. So he's talking about the Eden ship, and the captain apparently was suffering from Pandorum, and he killed his other two officers.
Yes, in his flight crew.
Yes, and this part really creeped me out. He ejected all of the passengers in their little pods, and we see the ship in just like thousands of little pods ejecting all
around it. Yeah,
and it just freaked me out. Like, imagine being in one of those things and you just wake up and you're just floating around.
And they
space
show
forever.
Someone waking up and like just screaming because he starts to realize that he's just in open space in his space pod.
No way to do anything.
Yeah, except die.
That's how I felt when I woke up from a nap when we were road tripping to Kansas City.
Mikey, we really got to know you then.
Yeah, we did.
Because that was like right when you joined the podcast full time. Oh man, we need to do more of that shit. I fucking loved that trip.
So the lady's following him, and he sees another.
When you say the lady, do you mean Nadia?
The lady, Nadia. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I didn't
She
realize
has a name, Jen.
Well, yeah, but did you know what it was before I told you?
No, I mean, they never say it.
No, she never introduces herself. Quite rude.
Her name tag is up here, Mikey. All right, so
she doesn't have a name tag.
Nadia is following him.
Well, it's because Ben Foster, he runs into all these people in the ship, and he's like, I've got to save the ship and the reactor. And they've all been
just
up for
real
years.
loudly.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like banging some stuff on the way. He jumps up to like high five one of the boards.
He's like an 8-year-old who's trying to touch the top of door frames.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like running out of the football stadium, like just patting
And everybody
stuff
just looks at him like, what are you talking?
Shut up. You know what the stakes are.
Well, and so he sees.
We are the stakes.
Yeah.
We
Medium
will
rare.
be the So he sees another body hanging, and we think it's dead, but he's not. He opens his eyes, and it's Norman Reedus.
It is Norman Reedus.
It is Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead.
And he's from Flight Team 6. So he was the crew that Ben Foster was supposed to relieve when his like 5 years or whatever was up. And he's like, what the fuck? You just woke up? You don't know what's going on either?
And Norman Reedus is like, I know just as much as you, man.
Exactly.
I have no idea what's happening.
He knows a little more.
Well, because he's caught in a trap. But yeah, so anyway, so Ben Foster cuts him down. They have a quick conversation.
Which is basically Norman Reedus saying, I'm leaving your ass right now if you don't follow me. Fuck you.
Yeah, well, and I don't think Norman's
up.
Yeah,
he does.
He does oil up because he's like, and this is where Norman Reedus says, I'm trying to get the scent off of me because apparently they can smell you or whatever. Right. And then he's like, you're on your own. I'm going to go hide somewhere because the Reavers are coming.
Yeah, and so Ben Foster sees the monsters coming and they're running, and Norman Reedus just takes off, and Ben Foster stands and tries to shoot him, but I think he runs off too.
Yeah, he doesn't end up shooting him. He just runs away.
Yeah, and they fall down.
I think there are just too many to fight. Like, you can't overwhelm
with your
that
non-violent riot gun.
Yeah, it's a non-lethal weapon. What are you doing?
And so now they're running and they're like jumping over things, and he falls down into this grate, and Norman Reedus is down there hiding too.
They find Norman Reedus.
They do. He's caught in like a foot booby trap or like a neck booby trap.
They wrap a thing around his neck.
So they yank him up, and he just gets eaten.
While this is happening,
you mean Norman eat us?
Oh! Shit. This is pretty gross because you see them eating out
really
of his
is.
stomach and you like see it. It's really gross.
Yeah.
But Ben Foster gets up behind them and goes to try and shoot one, but there's like glass in between
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, he was actually behind a window.
Anyway, so that shot notifies the Reavers that Ben Foster's right there. So they start now chasing him again.
And they stare each other down through the glass.
Yes. Who I guess was the captain, right?
Yeah.
The main
from,
hunter.
from the very
From the
beginning.
very first
Yeah,
scene,
yeah.
like the headhunter, I think. And so-
Anyway, so Ben Foster, this is when he gets his foot stuck in a trap and he falls way, way, way down. I mean, ultimately getting his foot stuck in the trap is what saves his life.
Exactly,
Because
yeah,
he doesn't fall all the way to the bottom. He just starts to hang and he grabs onto the side of the wall there. And then the Reavers start pulling him back
They
up.
do. And then a guy with a hood yanks him back in and saves
Yes.
him and cuts the thing off of his foot. And
Right.
he's not speaking English, but he looks real cool.
Do you know what language he was speaking?
No.
I don't know either.
I think it was just gibberish. Like you would think they had like a translator.
Here's what bothers me about movies like this. We have translators that you can just speak into and it'll play whatever. That's 200 years in the future and they haven't invented that technology. They haven't invented incredible crank
You
technology.
can't crank something
Right.
that small.
Does
Yeah, you
iPhone?
can. Mikey, let me prove to you can.
I
Okay.
called him Ag because he says he's from agriculture.
Yeah, he's in the agricultural department.
And I don't know if he ever, maybe we missed it, but I don't know if he and Nadia ever introduced themselves. But anyways, he's real helpful and he doesn't speak English, but he's just saved Ben Foster. And Ben Foster's like, okay, I'm going to go get help. I'm going to try to save the ship. I guess he tells him to stay here, but he's just off.
Yeah, they can't communicate.
He is a badass. The motherfucker knows Krav Maga or something.
Yeah, he does. He's actually, the actor is an MMA fighter.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I'm not sure what
that-
the actor's name is.
His fighting is impressive in the movie.
So now, Dennis Quaid is hearing noises and he closes the air vent and we
Oh
start
my
to hear
God,
that
yeah.
his nose is bleeding. We
Yes.
start to see that his nose is
Which is
bleeding.
more Pandorum sign.
It is.
Shaky hands, nosebleed.
Yep. And so now Ben Foster finds a housing container full of silver and he almost falls again.
Full of silver?
It's just like, I guess it's like frozen stuff, but everything's silver in this room.
Frozen.
It's like he went to like a
The lights are off, basically.
it's like he got the diamond cream from Arrested Development just all over the room.
Yeah.
All right. And so now the lady, Nadia, is there
Nadia.
and they fight and she pushes him out the door.
Oh my God, he falls so far again.
He does. And now Ag is there to save the day. And now Ag and Nadia are fighting.
Yeah, because it's not that Ag and Ben became friends, but
They
there's some
did become
solidarity
friends.
there,
They
right?
bonded.
Because they realize they're both against the Reavers and the enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of
Exactly.
thing. They haven't really spoke, but
Who
they're
is
on the same
not
side.
against the cannibals? Like
Nadia-
they all should be united.
Dude,
against
when that
cannibals.
cannibal
Yeah.
dies, the cannibals eat the cannibals.
Right.
So, like, they're like sharks. If you're dying, they're gonna fuck you up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, so this is when Ben Foster shoots the thing up in the air and he gives his Pod Tannis Tendence Day speech and they all join teams.
That was supposed to be Independence Day, but she,
Tannis Tendence Day?
Oh, I got it.
man, I wish I laughed at your jokes like you laugh at your jokes.
My jokes are for me.
I
Todd.
really like this moment because Ben was like, I know it's been every man for yourself, but
Yeah.
I am here now with my pumpy gun and we're going to save the reactor.
Yeah, I thought this part was actually a little cheesy.
I didn't. I thought it was good.
I thought it was a little cheesy too, but
Bill
only
Pullman can pull it off. That's the thing.
Exactly.
We need Bill Pullman.
I thought it was cheesy because there's no way he doesn't get up from that fall not going, oh my God.
I broke my arm. I broke my arm.
Well, in
There's no way he didn't break every rib in this movie.
So we have the End of Tannis Day speech.
yes.
There you go.
Ben Foster unites the two other people who are both being nice to him and fighting for no reason anyway.
And now fighting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so now they're all on board and they've got kind of like a little Scooby team.
because when the woman was fighting Ben Foster, she asked if he was okay when he fell.
Right.
Which tells me, yeah, that happened.
I didn't
All right.
realize that. Okay.
So now they got to get to the reactor. And now they're on a team. And they find out that he's a medical engineer. And the plan is to fire the reactor. And she says they'll never make it because they're going the wrong direction. And she says she didn't go down that far because nobody ever comes back. So she knows where the reactor is.
Yeah,
so they're going to
men
follow
never
her.
ask for directions.
So we find out now Ben Foster can fly the ship and land it because he's part of the flight crew. Or can he?
No, I think he probably can. He's on the flight crew. That would make
He can't
sense.
fly the ship though because the ship has crashed into the ocean.
No, you can fly shit. All you gotta do is
yeah, you gotta turn the crank and it's gonna fly right out. It'll be fine.
yeah,
Exactly.
mousetrap technology full effect.
So they're going down. They hear the monsters coming. And this is a real tense scene. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on with it. But she's waiting. She's got her hand. She's like waiting to open the door.
Yeah, they're trying to get into her house more
Yeah.
or less because she is like like a protector of what is essentially DNA Noah's shark.
Right.
Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark.
Yeah. Yes. Foreshadowing for them being in the ocean the whole time.
Yes, but they have to wait for a power surge.
Oh,
so they
that's
go
what
out.
it
Yeah,
is.
they go out and they're waiting. She has
Yeah.
her hand in place for it to read her tattoo so she can get in, and she has her hand on it, and they're just waiting for the power to come back on during the power surge. And the Reavers are coming up behind them, and then the power starts to surge. They're able to get in and close the door before the Reavers can get up.
And this is the nicest part of the ship.
It really
Holy
is.
shit,
yeah,
it's
all of a
super
sudden
nice.
the lights are on.
Why would she even leave this part?
I know.
I don't
to
know.
find Ben Foster's. So she goes in and it's like she's in this.
Foster some bins.
Oh yeah.
She's in this giant cerebro kind of thing.
She's in a big chamber and has all these white lights, and each light is a plant or animal specimen that they're taking to the new planet. And because of the power outages, they've lost 30% of the specimen.
Yeah.
She's also bred crickets to eat in this place.
Yeah.
And they eat crickets.
Yeah.
The room disconnects from the hallway. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's like cerebro.
Yeah, it's by itself. It looks like. Have you ever seen that scene in The Matrix when like Neo wakes up originally and it's just like a bunch of pods
Yeah,
on the wall?
yeah. It does look
so
like
that. The DNA pods were there, and they had like every species from Earth on the walls. And
it's
because
cool.
of the power outages, they lost about 30%.
Yeah.
It did sound like they had some way to revive those if they could get the power back on.
No, I think she was saying like, we're going to lose the rest if we don't get the power.
maybe that was
Right.
it too.
It's like when you like freeze eggs and if the power goes out, the eggs die. Okay, so they're eating the grasshoppers and she's talking about the ship and she's saying, you know, I think we've been asleep longer than you think we have. This ship was built to outlast like our children's children is what she says.
Yeah.
It was.
Okay, so now Dennis Quaid wakes up and he hears something in the tubes, the fallopian tubes.
Actually, sort of, yes.
Yeah, because he sees like a hand and somebody saying, ah.
Reminded me of the scene where Jim Carrey comes out the elephant. and
Oh,
spits
Ace
her-
little
Ventura
bit.
too?
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
Or when Danny DeVito comes out of the couch and it's always sunny in Philadelphia.
I love both of those things.
So this strapping young officer's just birthed out of the ship.
Yeah,
yeah, and
fully
his
grown.
name is what, Jen?
Gallo. Winky blinky.
It's like one letter away from the gallows.
He says he came from the bridge. And then
Right.
Dennis Quaid asks him what happened. And then we're cutting back to our Survivor Scooby team. And
Survivor Scooby team? Who is that?
that's the
Ben
that's
Foster team?
Nadia, Ben Foster.
I'd like to
and-
consider them a Dungeons and Dragons party on the way to the reactor.
Yeah, I would say if we did break this down for D&D, Ben Foster would be your healer because he can fix the ship.
Yeah.
Nadia would be your rogue.
And he can't fight.
Yeah.
He can fight.
He's not great at it, though.
They
He's not as
beat
good
that
as...
guy up and then he finishes him. He steals the kill.
He cherry picks that kill for sure. But yeah, so then you have Ag, and he's like your tank. He's the guy who can take it and dish it out. And of course,
Right.
Nadia's more like a rogue because she can do a lot of damage and she's quick.
And she escapes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. She's like, she can move.
Well, welcome back to D&D Story Hour.
And she's got some nice
Nope.
eyes.
She does.
She does have nice
blue eyes.
They're brown, Mikey. That's a joke I'm going to run the entire length of this podcast.
You know what? I think brown eyes can be very, very pretty.
So they're walking our Survivor team. They're going into a big room full of stasis pods, and some
Yes.
are empty and some are still full.
So it's like Ben Foster, Nadia, and Ag.
Right.
Yeah.
And they say this is the hunter's main hunting ground because this is where people come out of their pods.
Yeah, they just
and
randomly
don't know
wake
what's
up.
going on. Yeah, so they're seeing the empty pods, and he's having these flashes of his wife, and he says the family members aren't here. This isn't where the family members were kept. And so then they fall into a big puddle of gross, gooey body parts.
Yeah.
And
What-
this was very Descent.
This reminded me of Descent because it's just like when she got in the pool of blood or whatever that was. But it's both Ben Foster and Nadia who are in there. And there's a Reaver who's chasing them. I think it's the Captain Reaver.
And no, it's not.
Oh,
Because
is it not? Oh, that's
we're
right.
going to see him in a minute.
That's
yeah.
right, because they end up killing this one.
Yeah, but they're just waiting it out.
Yeah,
and
the
Aang went to go chill.
Ag is hunting that Reaver.
Oh, is he
Which
really?
we'll come back here in a
Okay.
second.
Yeah.
Because they jump in the pool of blood, Nadia and Ben, right? There's like a spinny thing that separates them from the bad...
Like a turbine
Fan,
something.
fan blades. It's like a big box.
It
fan.
is, yeah. So this, as the power is surging, so everything has power again, it spins that blade so he can't jump in and kill them. So he just walks away. The power goes off. Ben gets out and steals the flashlight from Nadia, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't help her out.
Doesn't help her up.
But
No.
it actually works out.
It does work out. I think that may have been sort of planned, although they don't talk about it, so it just feels like he's being a huge dick to Nadia.
Right.
But anyway, so Ben, who can't fight, and I think that may have been Nadia was
he
like...
hears a noise. He's like, point the flashlight at him. Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do there?
I
Ben
think
Foster?
Nadia was like, why don't you go first?
Right.
Because she's going to use him as bait because she knows he can't fight, but she can.
He gets pushed back into his stasis pod or a stasis pod. And this is when Nadia jumps up and starts kicking ass. And then Ag jumps in and they're all fighting this guy at the same time. And they keep stabbing him and slashing him and it's not really doing a whole lot of damage.
Nadia and Ag do most of the fighting.
Ben Foster gets a couple of kills. Ben Foster gets the big kill at the end.
He gets the big stab at the end, you're right.
Because they've already like beaten
he cherry
down.
picks this. He's the guy who stands right next to the goal. Someone kicks it to him and he taps it in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they have like already cut his arm off and he's still not really reacting to it.
Not Ben Foster, mind you. The other people cut his arm off.
Yeah, but this is where we truly learn that the Reavers are badasses.
Yes.
Like they can take a lot of pain. They're just insane. They're very strong.
So finally, Ben Foster stabs him right through the heart, and then they just jump on him and just start stabbing him over and over and over again.
And I was
which is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I was like, that's how you take care of it. You stab it until you're 1,000% sure it's dead.
Yeah, dude from Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah. And then they start to see the Captain Reaver.
Yeah, the head
the Captain Reaver is by himself on top of this thing.
Yeah.
And he's just like hitting a pole or something to make like a loud ringing noise.
Mortal Kombat!
Yeah, he's actually like a cultural icon for
them.
Cannibal culture.
Yeah, absolutely. Because he's calling other Reavers to come help and attack. And
they do.
The camera starts to pan up and you see a bunch of Reavers start to climb up to where he is. And there's a shitload of them.
Yeah.
And Ben's like, we should run. And they do. Shit, this was horrible, man. As they're running, one of the pods starts to open. And this guy who's been asleep for 300 years or whatever wakes up to Reavers ripping him apart.
Yeah.
And the Reavers are also eating their dead comrade.
Yes.
Which also shows that they're more like animalistic. Fun fact about that guy that opens up in the pod, that is Ben Foster's brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah, John
Nice.
Foster.
It didn't seem like he recognized him.
No,
He didn't
wanted
seem to
help
care about him at all.
Dude,
I will say, I feel like he did a fine job acting like a dude who was getting eaten.
I think so too.
I mean, he's not an actor, but I think he did a fine job.
I
Yeah.
really believed it.
But he got stabbed in the head real cool by the head cannibal.
Yeah.
He does, yeah. And which is good because it puts him out of his misery.
Yeah.
There is some compassion in cannibal culture.
Well, he's the pillar.
So as John Foster is dying, his brother Ben, Nadia, and Ag are getting the fuck out of Dodge.
Right. And so now we cut back to Dennis Quaid, who's checking on Gallo, and we find out he's on team 4, and he says he comes from the bridge, but he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know where they are, or does he? And he says it was Pandorum, and he had to defend himself against the other two captains.
Yeah, because the other two people on flight team 4 had Pandorum, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid said, "Oh, I don't know about
That's
that."
pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now we're back with the gang.
They're in a fog. They hear more noises. They found a hatch. They go through the hatch and they're in a chamber that they seal up.
Right.
And there's a guy in there.
Oh, yeah.
and
Okay.
he's the chef.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what his name is. But this is a trope that you often see, I think, in these kind of post-apocalyptic zombie kind of things, is there's the guy that you think is going to help you who turns out to be just as bad as the monsters, just in a different way.
Yeah. And
because you trusted him.
Yeah. And
And I say that, I think it's well done here.
they definitely did the critical fail in their intuition check because he's like, "I'll cook for you." And he like sends down cups of stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
and I was
Only,
like, no, immediately, he's going to kill them.
only Ag was drinking that stuff. Both Ben and Nadia were like, fuck that.
They were
I'm
being a
not
little
drinking that."
skeptical of
Yeah.
him.
That makes sense because the tank is usually the dumb one.
That is true, actually.
So while they are being fed, not drugged at all,
We're learning some stuff.
we are. Yeah. Nadia is talking. She's given a little bit of this exposition dump.
Yes.
And she's talking about why she thinks what she thinks the monsters are.
I liked this.
I did too. So the thing that he pulled out of his arm at the very beginning, that was like giving him like fluids and like life sustaining
It was
things.
keeping him alive.
But they were also giving some kind of chemical that was supposed to help them adapt to Tanis when they landed.
Yeah.
And so what happened is because they woke up so early, they started adapting to the ship. And so they are just kind of devolved humans.
Yeah, well, because it speeds up human evolution.
Right. Yeah. And so now they've turned into these monsters.
Yeah, they turned into humans evolved to live on a ship forever, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to eat humans. And yeah. All right. So Dennis Quaid now is going to try to give Gallo a sedative because he's kind of freaking out a little bit. And Gallo is explaining to him what Pandorum is. And we've already kind of talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's saying, how would you react if you knew the truth? So now we know there's some shit that we're about to figure out in a little bit. And so we get kind of a double exposition story dump because the chef is telling this kind of like cave painting story.
It literally is it's carved into the side of his level because he's like, I don't know, 20 feet above them on a ledge where all of his cooking shit is.
Right.
And they're down below him. And he's like looking at the wall behind him where he's carved in the story of Elysium.
He's telling the story, but Gallo is also telling the story at the same time. Yeah, but it's going in and out of this story.
Yeah, it's cutting back between Dennis Quaid, Gallo, and the chef.
And I like how they tell the story too. So what they're saying is Earth is gone, and they got that transmission from the very beginning. And so that's when they find out that Earth no longer exists, and that there were 3 commanding officers, which I imagine were the 3 flight crew.
I think it was just the flight crew.
Their shift, yeah. And so we find out that one of them killed the other 2 and didn't go back to sleep when he was supposed to wake the other ones up. And so he was just kind of playing with all these people. He would like wake them up and kill them or just be evil with him. And he kind of started to get this God complex because he's like, well, the human race, I'm all that's left of the human race.
And I control everyone on this ship.
Exactly, which is everyone in the universe.
Well, that we know of.
Right. And so we started to see, like in the pictures, it's like this guy and he's got these sun kind of lines coming out of his head.
Yeah.
And so what he did was he freed people and then he sent them down to the cargo bay and they just kind of had to fend for themselves. And that's when they started mutating into these monsters.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying all that right.
The mural that we see on Isaac Hayes' wall or chef's wall is like the apotheosis of Gallo.
Yeah.
Right. And then we see, or he tells the story of he sort of got bored with it.
Right.
And he went back to sleep.
Yes.
And the evil continued to grow and be more evil and, get more and more evil.
Right.
And that's when they started to feed off the humans that were popping open, just randomly.
Yeah. So that's the story. And so then I missed when they passed out.
He
The
gasses
chef-
them too.
Yeah.
That's right. Because they don't drink it. So, because when he's telling the story, you see Ag is drinking and he's like, man, this is Elysium. Am I right? But they don't pass out because they were drinking it because Ben Foster and Nadia don't drink anything.
Because they're smart.
Yeah, he does
They
gas
just had
them.
those crickets earlier. They don't need anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're
And
full.
they're
We had
too
a
busy.
cricket.
Yeah.
The chef gasses them. They pass out.
Yeah.
And then you see them wake up and
And
Ben
they're-
Foster's upside down.
Yeah, they're all upside down.
Well, yeah, they are, but you only see Ben Foster originally.
They
Yeah.
look like they're in a meat locker.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they basically are because
But they
now we
really
find
are
out
just where they were sitting before, just
they're
upside
just
down,
now
tied
upside
up.
down. Yeah. And Chef is now down there and he's going to eat them. And then Ben Foster starts explaining that he can save the ship.
Yeah, Ben
and
Foster goes on his reactor spiel again.
But
Why
honestly,
don't you like Ben Foster?
He doesn't do anything.
He
though.
saves
He doesn't even
everybody.
save the reactor. He does this at the end.
That's how all technology works in this world.
for those of you who couldn't see, because this is a podcast medium,
Mikey did some kind of
Mikey just-
fisting move.
yeah, Jen, that's fair.
Continue, John.
No, I just mean he doesn't fight. All he does is tell people, I've got to get the reactor. Don't kill me. Then he gets there. Nadia does all the work. He comes in, cranks it 2 times and is like, there, I saved humanity.
We'll get there,
Hey,
but he does some pretty gross stuff to get to that reactor.
But he didn't need to. He could just tell
That's
her,
true.
just crank the thing on the right.
He could have just said that. Yeah. We'll get there. You're not wrong about that. Yeah.
All right, so Ben Foster saves them from this situation by convincing him not to eat them because he's going to go save the ship.
Right.
Yes.
And this is also where we realize that we don't have weeks or months. We have an hour
Like
before
45
the ship blows up.
And then we find out a little bit later that it's actually like 47 minutes.
And you know he's a cannibal because he's like, I'm about to make steaks out of your girlfriend.
Right. Yeah.
Which is like a big commitment because they haven't really labeled their relationship yet.
No.
Now they have to have the conversation.
Yeah, now
'cause
they
you've
have
made
to
it
have the
weird.
conversation.
Are we going to be exclusive
Yeah.
or are you going to put out to Ag? Like, what's
Are
the
you going to
deal?
repopulate the earth with just me or with other guys?
Yeah. And honestly, I would get it. Ag can get it.
Yeah, I can get it too. And he can defend you.
He can actually fight.
Yeah.
Ben Foster's pretty dreamy, though.
If I was going to partner up with someone at the end of the world, they have to fight.
Dude, motherfucker, if you had to partner up with someone just settling a new planet, it would be someone like Ag. It would not be someone like Ben Foster.
true.
But there's a language barrier.
We see him in his underwear at the beginning.
Ben Foster does have a big old dick in this movie.
Ben Foster is just a Civil War soldier out of place and time. Every time I see him in a movie, I'm like, how did this Civil War soldier get into space?
Yeah.
Did
the vampires let him go yet?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now they try to get in touch with Dennis Quaid again, and he finds out they're on the other side of the ship.
Yeah, he's like, how the hell did you get there?
Yeah, and that's when they find out we have 47 minutes before total system failure.
Right.
And they're going through tunnels, and they find a child hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Who jumps down and starts like hunting shit.
They become a party of 4. Chef agrees to come and takes the riot gun and the flashlight.
Yeah, so what part of the D&D squad is he?
Bad.
Well, no, okay, so he joins the party because someone else is going to have to die, and you don't want anyone else in the party that you already
like all
have
the
to
other
die.
people.
Yeah.
But so we see this child hunter and we find out these monsters are breeding now.
Yes. When we saw the kid hunter, the first thing I said was, oh, kill that kid immediately. And had they done that, they would have had a much easier rest of the walk to the core, and Ag wouldn't be dead.
Exactly.
Nadia's biological clock is ticking, so she says, don't kill him. He's a child.
She doesn't want him to think that she doesn't want kids.
Right.
She wants to try to reel him in a little bit.
That's a conversation they haven't had yet, but they just have some.
Yeah, they haven't been on their first date, so they haven't brought up, do you want to have kids
They
yet?
have had their first date. They ate those crickets.
They did eat those crickets, Todd.
Yeah.
And she was kind of implied it. She's like, look at all the DNA around me. Like, this is all terminology that she wants to settle down.
Is it?
I don't know. She's tried to kill him a couple of times.
That's
foreplay.
Yeah, a good relationship has good fights.
All right, so now they're wandering around and they find out where the families were. And this is when Ben Foster remembers that his wife didn't come with him, so stayed on Earth.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what happened with this, but it doesn't really matter because now the motivation for him to find his wife is gone.
I think it was just because they wanted to then establish that he was romantically available for Nadia.
Exactly.
And also the need to go searching for the wife is no longer
gone,
there.
yeah.
So it is, we just got to get to the reactor.
Yeah.
Hot take. Ari just told her that.
Oh my God, she's actually on the ship.
Maybe she's one of the mutants.
That could be too. I thought that's what the turn was going to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just like, you know what? Nadia's a lot hotter than my wife. I'm just going to pretend like I don't have a wife on the ship.
Geez.
She didn't come on this ship, but
So
you will.
Blagger.
All right. Okay, but they do find Dennis Quaid's wife.
Yes, they
and
do.
And it says Mrs. Peyton, so we're for sure knowing.
No, it's
Yes.
Maria.
Marianne.
Whatever.
This is when I think he starts to remember or something. This is when things kind of just start going back and forth a lot. So I'm kind of have tried to consolidate.
This whole movie just did Quaid be like, come in, Ben Foster. Have you fixed the reactor
Yeah,
yet?
have you
Right.
done everything
Yeah,
yet?
I've been sitting here quite a while and like, these Hot Pockets aren't going to warm themselves up.
Exactly, dude. And there's this teenager who keeps talking to me and he's kind of annoying.
Yeah, he is the worst.
Yeah. Millennials. Am I right? All right. So we're back to Quaid. Gallows is starting to get some Pandorum, and he's suggesting that they all launch themselves into space, just like in the Eden ship.
Yeah, this is where you start to see his nose bleeding too.
Yeah, it's starting to like really bleed and like run down his face.
he's a
Quaid's like,
gusher.
why would we do that? That's like suicide.
Right. He's like, but it'll buy us a couple of days because he knows they only have 47 minutes left. And Dennis Quaid is incapable of doing anything for himself. So he's got to wait for Ben Foster to get back and save the day. So now they get to the reactor.
Are we there yet?
Are we?
Yeah, there's a lot of, okay.
Wait. Let's finish talking about the whole conversation between Dennis Quaid and Gallows.
Yeah, because there's a lot of this that happens and it's cut back and forth. So let's talk about this first because it just is like a series of...
It's like a crescendo of dramatic effect, right?
Yes, yeah.
So while we're cutting back between Ben Foster and that D&D party at the core, we're also seeing Dennis Quaid and Gallo argue.
Yeah.
And Dennis Quaid and Gallo are sort of like yelling at each other. Gallo was like, we need to go. Get in the stasis pod. Let's shoot off and we'll go. And then he sort of gets Dennis Quaid to put in the code to get him into a stasis pod.
Right.
And Gallo gets in and he like has this sedative to his neck. Is that what
Kind
that's?
of. Yeah.
He has like a shot, like a medicine shot. I think it was a sedative. And he says, put in the code to shoot me into space or whatever. So
Right.
Dennis Quaid puts in the code, Gallows gets in the stasis pod, and then it shuts but doesn't shoot into space.
Right.
But the stasis pod says simulation launch.
Quaid made the decision to simulate the launch, not do a real one. I would have just launched him into space.
Well, that's
all space psychosis is we just launch it now.
Yeah, we got to get rid of it.
just
We got
burn
to
it
cut
down.
out this cancer.
I mean, this is a real crisis moment, and like we can't have him try to kill everybody.
I agree,
Right.
but listen, there are clear reasons why he couldn't shoot him into space, and we'll get to it.
Right. All right. So now.
But it cuts to Ben and the D&D party
Yeah.
at the core.
Yes, and now we see that all the creepy crawlies live down in just a big pile right next to the
You
core.
might call it a corgi.
We did call it a corgi, Todd, and
Well,
I
you
wrote
say
it down.
we, but what you meant is I did.
A corgi. Well, you said it the first time.
They're attracted to the reactor's warmth.
That
are,
probably
yeah.
could be true. I mean,
I think there was a throwaway line about that.
And this
was it?
reminded me a lot of The Descent, too, because it's just a pile of these creepy crawlies and they're all asleep.
but it is, like you were saying before, very animalistic. They
Yes.
sleep on each
I think
other.
we're in no position to judge their cannibal culture.
Wow. So anyway, they're trying to get over to the core, and Ben Foster and Nadia are trying to go across this walkway bridge that's
Right.
1,000 years old, so it breaks, and Ben is holding on, and Ag gets over there and holds the walkway, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
one
yeah.
side's
He
connected,
does
one
something.
side's not.
The catwalk.
Yeah.
There you go. So he's trying to do a little turn on the catwalk, and it breaks, and Ag runs over there and grabs it, and he's holding it in place.
Yeah.
But Ben still falls down, but Nadia does get across.
No, yeah,
Right.
Nadia takes off after he holds it and like badass rogues it over there.
Yeah.
Too sexy. That's how she got there.
She's too sexy for that catwalk.
Yeah. And so now Ben Foster falls down and he puts his little sexy costume on, which I think is made of like human skin.
Yeah,
or
it was a
something.
human skin. It was a Buffalo Bill costume. Is it Buffalo Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looked like a t-shirt on his head, but then skin and stuff wrapped around. He wanted to look like one of them.
Leatherface is more what you're looking for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah,
Hello?
he does put like a human suit on.
Yeah,
And
and
then
it's gross.
starts to crawl over the creepy crawly descent reavers.
And,
Yes.
and at this point, Todd was like, well, how come they're not waking up? And I was like, their culture is they sleep in a big pile. So
Yeah.
people are going to sneak off to pee in the middle of the night. They're going to crawl over people.
I think they just pee in that pile.
Ben Foster's climbing the ladder. Chef drops the flashlight, or you might say the other shoe drops. And all the reavers start waking up.
Yes.
Yeah.
In response, Ag drops the catwalk on them, kills a bunch. They all look at Ag and he like challenges. He goes, ah!
Yeah, he does
He
like a
distracts
very
them.
he does a yell
And
and
he takes
runs.
off. And they all
Right.
chase Ag.
One doesn't. One finishes climbing up, but Nadia stabs him and he
Yes.
falls back down. Yeah.
Right.
And then Ben Foster, to save the reactor, pushes one button and then the reactor sinks.
Yeah, he like pulls it out, turns it, and pushes it back
yeah,
in.
totally could have told the other two how to do it just in case something happened to him in the future. Glad he got that advanced degree in space engineering so he could pull up one handle and then put it back down.
It is like if your car broke down, you open the hood and there was an on-off switch in the off position, and you're like, "Oh, I can fix this."
It's basically like if you flip a circuit, like a circuit breaker.
Yeah, at your house.
You're like, hold on, guys, I'm the engineer.
I can fix
Click.
it, babe. Don't worry. I got this. Yeah, it is
Meanwhile,
very
she's
much like
fighting all the
that.
creepy crawlies off.
She's literally stabbing reavers while he's turning the off switch back on.
yeah,
yes.
she and Ag do prepare the way. Yeah, Chef has just packed his knives and got
Then the
hell
reactor
out of
turns
there.
on and for some reason destroys a bunch of the creatures.
Well, it had to vent a bunch of something
what
or
it
other.
is,
So
yeah.
what he does is really just vent something out of the reactor.
reactorness.
So it can restart. Yeah, and then the reactor restarts and all the power in the ship comes back on.
Causes
Yes.
quite a reaction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, you might say.
Yeah, you would. And so then Ben Foster, this is when he puts his hand on her head, and I don't like it. All right.
It wasn't sexual. It
I
wasn't
know.
like they were
But he
making
grabbed
out.
her by the head and moved her back to take cover.
But
Yeah.
I just saw that and I was like, nope. You can
He
cut
was
that out.
literally trying to save her from like hurting herself.
That's what they all say. So now we're back to Dennis Quaid, and Gallo is trying to get out of the stasis pod.
Yeah, he's like, because there's no danger anymore. The
Right.
ship's not going to blow up. Now Reaver wants out of the stasis
Exactly,
pod.
because
Right.
now Dennis Quaid can get onto the bridge.
Right.
And this is when the crawlies are chasing Ben Foster. Ag is still alive, and he's fighting the main head hunter.
This is the coolest action part of the film.
I thought it was great.
You call him
Ag is great.
Goro, and I'm not. Is that the guy with all the arms?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I didn't love this part because Goro, or the captain of the Reavers, throws Ag a weapon to use.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really uncharacteristic of that
Of like mutant
cannibal
race people.
culture. Yeah.
Right.
Or flip side,
Counterpoint.
there's only an alpha male, and he was like, if you're gonna alpha male me, take a gun. I would take a weapon. We gotta have a fair fight for the alpha.
I
Yeah.
mean, Okay. I just didn't love it. It didn't feel like what a true cannibal would do in that situation.
Well, as long as he eats him at the end, and you're still in the cannibalistic territory.
I mean, you're still in that. Yeah, you're still in that counterculture of cannibalism, sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone in this scene was kung fu fighting.
It was cool.
That egg was fast as lightning.
So they struggle back and forth.
Yeah.
And they do all that, and then but then he loses his weapon, and the cannibal has him, and then bites him in the stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, and Ag breaks off that thing like a part of
like
his.
one of his Bowser things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
one
and
of his
starts
spikes.
stabbing in his throat
Yeah.
from behind him.
And then he stabs him in the brainstem, and the guy dies.
Yeah.
And
And
then
he
the
dies.
captain dies.
And then we see little baby
Baby Reaver.
Baby Reaver,
Yeah.
and she comes up and she's just looking all cute. And
Wasn't
then,
she?
Yeah, she was.
She's
She had
looking cute for a
She had
baby
like
Reaver.
puppy dog eyes.
You're right.
Yeah, she looks like
And
that.
a blade behind her
Well,
back.
yeah, and then Ag's
Yeah.
like, I guess I won't kill her.
Yeah, and then slashes him to the throat.
I called that.
Yeah, you did.
I was like, he's going to die because of
Yeah.
compassion.
But he got his moment. Fun fact, that Baby Reaver is the director's daughter.
Aww.
Nice.
Yeah, all right. So now Dennis Quaid is just freaking out in the
This
room
scene-
he's been in this whole time.
I thought the scene was pretty cool.
I did too.
I suspected that they were the same person.
because I started saying it a little while into the movie.
Did you? Oh,
Like,
well then, yeah. I didn't.
Well, I
you
thought
both
he
did.
wasn't real.
That's what it was.
That it
yeah.
was like him
and I thought
talking
it
to
was that they
himself.
were the same person.
Right.
But I honestly, I never really try and figure that stuff out. I like
Right.
for the movie to explain it all, and it does. And I like this part of the movie because it does a good job explaining it.
I think so too. And I think the reveal that they're the same person is pulled off well. Lots of movies
too.
do that and it just
Yeah.
looks real dumb.
I agree.
They start wrestling, and then Todd pointed out that both actors reading the same lines when they're
It
talking
is.
to each other.
So they use the audio, like they're both saying the exact same lines, and they merge the audio together and did like some phaser delay on it, so
Yeah.
it's like echoey. It's pretty cool.
and they're wrestling around with the
Sedative.
they're
the
wrestling around with the
sedative
sedative
gun.
shot and trying to see who will sedate the
Wrestling
other.
around with their feelings.
They are. They're
Yeah.
two men, really just one man,
Right.
fighting with
Yep.
his inner demons.
Because Gallows has gotten out somehow because he was never really in there. And I
Right.
like the way they're representing this mental condition that he's having too,
Yeah.
is that he's been talking to himself the whole time.
Yeah, the moment you know that is when Gallo is still in the stasis pod and Dennis Quaid mutes the stasis pod, but he can still hear him. You're like, oh, that's what it is.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I noticed
yeah.
everything.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You do notice a lot of that stuff. All right, so then their arms are right next to each other, and we see that the tattoo is the same.
Yes, and it merges.
And it merges, and so it's the same arm.
And then he gives
Maybe.
himself the
No.
sedation.
He does give himself the sedative shot.
And then he feels better. He's more competently crazy.
Well, he is more, let's just say, it's like when someone's an alcoholic, but they're functional.
No, I would just say he's less of two minds.
But this is when Chef runs in and he's like, I don't know who you are, but there's a lot of Reavers coming.
Exactly.
And then,
and you're a human.
yeah, and then Dennis Quaid's like, oh, hey, it's nice to meet you, and stabs him in the eye with the needle.
Yeah, it's sad. It's like a
But
nail
I mean,
gun or something.
he kills a cannibal,
He
so I can't
does,
feel
yeah. I
that
mean, I'm
bad,
okay
but-
with that. Dude,
Not a fan of Chef, so happy to see him go. And like, you can learn to cook. That's not something we're gonna need on Tannis.
Can you learn to cook with motor oil?
We'll figure it out.
Well, now it's just Ben Foster and Nadia. They come back and they just in time get through the door that evil Dennis Quaid has closed on them.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get all the way through because one of the creepy crawlies, the Reavers, gets their arm in, and then Ben Foster, non-lethal weapon, but at close range, blasts his head off.
Oh, it does kill him, though. Yeah,
Yeah.
because Ben Foster gets blood all over him.
Yeah.
But it does keep that door slightly open.
It's
Right.
nice to know Ben Foster did something.
But Mikey, he flipped a switch.
Yeah.
I'm just saying Nadia did everything in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now Ben Foster remembers it all. And we find out that, what did you say?
I liked your joke.
Oh.
I'm laughing at your joke.
All right, so Ben Foster remembers it all, and he says we find out that Gallo was actually Dennis Quaid the whole time, but
yeah.
a younger version of Dennis Quaid. And so the reason he's old now is because he stayed awake for all of those years. And
Yeah, we
broke
sort
the
of know
rotation.
why. Because the
Right.
exposition dump that Chef gave.
Right, and he killed his crew, which the two people that he was talking about at the beginning, and he was the one that was left over, like the king in the
Yeah.
story that Chef was telling. Did you just say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Welcome to the conversation.
I was just so happy that somebody laughed at a joke that I lost my track. All right. And so now he opens the door to show them where they are.
Yeah.
And I called this. There's no
Wait.
stars.
They have moved into the bridge.
They are. They're in
So
the bridge.
they're on
And there's
the
a
bridge
dead
now.
guy, like a mummified guy in one of the chairs.
Yeah. So Nadia and Ben walk into the bridge. They don't see Quaid yet.
No.
They're walking around looking, and then Nadia turns around, and Dennis Quaid's sitting in a chair.
Yeah,
in
like
the
Sam
captain's chair.
Neill from Event
Yes.
Horizon
Yeah.
turns around.
Yes.
He still has his eyes, but he's just as evil in his heart.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I wrote down a lot of this because I thought it was really interesting what he was saying.
Well, this is when Dennis Quaid is trying to convince Ben that Pandorum, or the mental condition that is Pandorum, is really just enlightenment.
Exactly.
Right.
He says, imagine yourself without the chains of your morality. This isn't freedom, it's Pandorum.
Yeah.
But the other side of Pandorum is divine clarity. And he's let go of his concept of reality. And he says, life eats life. And the ship is a sea, winky blinky, to create a new world. And he's offering him the keys to the kingdom.
Yes.
And I was just writing it down as you're saying it because I thought it was really interesting.
I thought it was really well written.
I do too.
It does read like a crazy person, but
Right.
it's supposed to.
As someone who's talked to someone who's very delusional, this sounds very delusional.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to. Like, I'm convinced that he has lost his mind.
Yeah, but he's like with 30 other people, he's the head of a cult. You know, that's what they say.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, let me show you what you could do with this. All you have to do is listen to me and believe me. Throw aside what you already know. Okay, so now Ben Foster and Dennis Quaid are fighting. And Ben Foster's whole like counter speech is, there will always be law and I will always hold you accountable. And then he pulls one of his teeth out. And
Yeah,
it's
he becomes
real
a
weird.
dentist.
So you say he doesn't do anything in this movie.
Yeah.
He gets to the root of the problem.
Oh!
Boo!
God damn it,
I
I
think
hate
really
you so
what
much.
he was doing was sinking his teeth into it.
Oh, shit. Both of those were good jokes. I like it. I don't have a take. No, I really like this part, though, because it's like no morals fighting morals.
Molars.
I like
Nice. Nice.
He's like, let me show you what it's like to take out a moral.
Yeah, Ben Foster goes, I've had this alligator wrench the whole time.
He sort of has
Pliers.
But what you did not know is I was secretly a dentist.
the whole time.
I like them fighting moral versus no morality.
I like
Here's
that
the
too a
part I
lot.
don't like is when Dennis Quaid's like, but now you're going Pandorum. And then he gets like weirdly Pandorumed.
I didn't quite understand what this was. And this was actually when I was thinking maybe those monsters weren't real the whole time. Maybe he was Pandorum-y. But I don't think that's right. I think it was
I think
just
he
confusingly
was.
shot.
I think he was fine, and those monsters were real.
And this is just a weird transition.
Yeah.
So now the door is opening and we're seeing out of the bridge and we see no stars and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And then we see like a glowy stingray swimming past. And now we think, oh, we've been under the sea the whole time. And that this is the Jaws 3
Under the
sequel
sea.
that we deserve.
Ben Foster shoots his gun and breaks the glass on the bridge.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so the way that shakes out is he's got the riot gun, and a reaver's trying to get in. He shoots the reaver's trying to crawl through, and it kills the reaver, but the top of the grate breaks off and hits the windshield.
Yeah.
And that's what cracks
And
it.
it cracks. I don't know.
It's not on purpose.
Rated glass is going to be able to sustain that blast.
Yeah, listen, I get it. It's just a plot device, bro. But yeah, I completely agree with you.
So then it's like, hole breach. And then it's raining rain.
It's raining ocean.
holes.
Hallelujah, it's raining ocean.
holes.
Whoa,
Hey.
get to a pod. Yeah, and they do.
I like the shot of Dennis Quaid just like succumbing to like the fact that he was wrong.
Right.
He just sits in the captain's chair,
truth
head
crashes
down.
in on
Yeah,
him.
exactly.
Yep. Similar.
I don't think he ever has that I was wrong moment.
think so.
I think he just
He
has
says,
an I'm dying
I'm all
moment.
wet now.
Yeah.
It's raining truth.
So Dennis Quaid dies while Ben Foster and Nadia run to a stasis pod.
Yeah, and they get back in his stasis pod from the
Yeah.
very beginning. Yeah.
Yes, they both get in there. They close it up. It only gets about maybe like chest high of water.
Yeah.
And then it starts to eject all the stasis pods because the hole is breached.
Right.
And it's just in like self-destruct mode. It's not
Right.
self-destruct mode. It's like just getting rid of all the pods so that
Yeah,
not
just
everyone
like
dies.
purging
Yeah.
all the stuff. Yeah. And so they've got their little gas mask in the stasis pod, so they're going all the way up to the top.
The water does fill up the stasis
Yeah,
pod.
and he
Yeah.
puts the mask on Nadia because he's like, I didn't really do anything, so we're gonna need you in Tanis.
They definitely are going to need her, but
Yes. But like
I'll say-
Rose on the door, she just chills out with that mask and doesn't offer it to give it to him.
I think it knocks her out. I do
think she's
think when she put it on, it
unconscious.
knocks her out. I don't like how the water in the tank fills up even more when they're getting shot out. Because if you were shooting an escape pod into space, it would have to be airtight or it would kill them.
Yeah, that's true.
So the fact that it fills up more with water as they're getting closer and closer to the surface
I think
is
they were
ridiculous.
all cracked in the Yeah, I think you're right. Whatever.
Yeah.
So
But
anyways.
they do sort of breach out of the water and then kind of splash and hover. And then
and luckily, the door just flies off into the air.
It does. Ben Foster could breathe. And then he takes the mask off of Nadia. And then they have their moment while they see all the other pods shooting up around them.
It kind of reminded me of the end of Speed, where like Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves are like, this could probably work.
Yeah.
You know, we're not supposed to start relationships based on mental trauma.
Well, I got something to tell them.
Yeah.
You know who's not together in Speed 2, though?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we realized that the ship crash landed in the ocean right
next to the shore.
next to the land.
Yeah, because part of it's still sticking out.
950 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
930
Yeah.
years ago.
Or whatever.
But that's sort of the end of the movie.
It almost is. So they pop up and everybody's happy. And now we see like the Tanis moon and we see the shore and there's a big waterfall. And I really like this. At the end, it says Tanis year 1, population 1213.
Yeah, because everyone else's escape pods came and popped out.
And I really liked that. I thought it was really sweet.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the part of the ship's over the water. Part of the ship is out of the water, so they could still get in back to the ship.
Yeah.
And all of the creatures drowned, and it implied all the creatures drowned.
Yeah. And that's the movie.
And that is the movie.
The movie.
The roll the credits.
I honestly really liked this movie. It was pretty scary, but I feel like it was more sci-fi than horror. It was a scary sci-fi movie to me.
Yeah. I would definitely put it under the horror umbrella.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would say
sci-fi
first it's a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, but I agree. There were some scary moments. This was not a 1 for me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a 9 or anything. But yeah, we'll get to there when we get to the scary scale. But I liked it. I thought it was a good plot, good premise. It did sort of feel like a video game, but I've grown up playing those types of video games. So I sort of liked it.
We haven't talked about the set, and we talked about that a lot while we were watching the movie.
The sets were
and I was just going to
super
piggyback
impressive.
on that.
Yeah.
They were huge. It was a lot of practical effects, except for like the shaving. And
but that was still awesome, so I'll allow it.
Right. But it was all like a lot of practical effects. The ship still had a weird, like, why would anyone design a spaceship like this kind of feel?
And so, like, one of the problems we have with a lot of movies is when you can't get a sense of the surroundings of the character. And even in this ship that doesn't really make any logical sense to us, you can still get a sense of the place in the scene.
I did like one of the scenes where he goes through and it's just like a container ship, like tons of the truck containers stacked on top. Yeah. Because that's what probably a cargo ship of stuff would look like going to a new planet.
Probably be a little more rain, but
that was like the supply room or whatever.
Like the cargo area.
But it was like a cargo ship full of those like big metal containers.
Right.
Yeah.
But it makes sense if it's 900 years without any maintenance that things look real weird.
Exactly. Yeah.
I really liked it.
You've seen it before, so you think it held up well?
I've seen it a couple times and it held up well this time. After the first time, you know that Dennis Quaid and the guy are the same person, so I had to like not talk about that with you guys.
Yeah.
No, but I think it really holds up and it's a good science fiction movie, good horror movie, good movie, I think, overall.
I think generally it is a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really liked this, and I think the reason I liked it is because I've been in an ocean and I can connect with this movie.
Holy shit.
I'm kidding.
Oh
no,
God,
I did really.
awesome.
But no, I did really like this movie. I mean, technically, maybe it's not a space movie because they're on a planet. Although
they did go through space to
and
get there.
they're on a different planet.
Yes.
So
I think it definitely qualifies.
But
Yeah.
I don't care. It's a sci-fi movie, but I did really like it. I liked all the performances. I thought it was scary. I thought it was cool, and there was enough to hook me in. You know, I really liked it.
Because the story was good.
Right.
One thing I didn't like though at the end when they all popped up and all the rest of the 1,200 people popped up and were in the water, that they all got their tennis shoes wet.
Jesus Christ. Oh man, we're gonna shoehorn in some more Tanis jokes, guys.
Nice.
Tanis is in Egypt. It's a lost city in Egypt.
Is it?
Yeah. All right, so let's talk box office. So the budget for this movie was $33 million.
And sci-fi movies often cost a lot of money.
They do, and it looked great. Like, it came out in 2009. It looked great.
It does
I
look
have
really
literally
good.
no complaints. Everyone should see this movie.
Yeah.
It only made $20 million in theaters. $10 million foreign, $10 million domestic.
And how much did it make on Tanis?
It has not played yet in
No, is it
Tanis.
not? They haven't built the screens yet?
They have not
They're
built
still trying to
screens.
dig it out of that.
It just did not do very well, which is sad. I thought it was a great movie.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's the same thing with like lots of sci-fi. I think lots of times doesn't do that well. Sunshine, that's the one I was trying to think of. Great movie, didn't do that well in the box office.
So Jen, should you do your fun facts?
I think I should do my fun facts.
Jen's fun facts. Always been fun.
Always been fun, but escalating funness every time.
You
Right.
won't believe how fun they are. All right.
We've set the bar pretty high.
Yeah, like listen, we have said
I'm a fucking
all
deliver
of them. We have said all of these will be fun. Don't make us liars.
All
Jen.
right, so we were talking about the budget. Let me find this.
It's pronounced budget.
Budget. Oh, I can find that. Okay, so this was planned originally. It was going to be shot on a real low budget, and they were going to shoot it in an abandoned paper mill. And then somebody like Paul W.S. Anderson or his company or something found the script and decided they wanted to do it because they thought it was a really good script. So they didn't have to shoot it on super low budget. The original plan for this was that it was going to be set on a prison ship and they were going to be sending prisoners to another planet.
It's like Australia.
Like an Australia
it's like what the UK did to Australia. Yeah.
Oh, John's delightful.
John's Dennis Quaid.
And that the monsters were just going to be devolved people. And I'm not exactly sure the nuts and bolts of that, but Ben Foster was going to be a non-prisoner.
Oh, like a prison guard? I think that movie might work better.
I don't know. I like
this.
It
would be interesting.
This is pretty effective.
Well,
that does not sound like a bad premise to me, but I like the way they did it here.
So when this got picked up, the director had already written a script of 4 people like in a spaceship, and so he kind of just merged those things together. So he added the paranoia to like the monsters eating people, and I think it really works.
I think it works too.
So this was planned to be the first in a trilogy.
What?
And I've also read that there was going to be a sequel and a prequel to it, but because it bombed or didn't make its money back, they are probably not going to do that.
Holy shit,
I mean,
I'd
been
watch
10
that.
years.
I know. I would too. I think it's interesting. So the scene where Ben Foster eats bugs, he actually insisted on actually eating the bugs.
Oh, really?
Gross, yeah. But I mean, I guess it saved him some money.
Probably, yeah.
So he really ate that cricket, and he ate them like real nonchalantly.
Like it wasn't shit.
Right. And so
It's called acting, Jen.
So I did this research before I'd seen the movie, and I was just picturing his character from 30 Days of Night, and I just imagined him like eating all these gross bugs on the ground or something. And then when I watched it, I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, there are places where they eat stuff like that, so I guess it's not super weird, but it is an art
Screech
culture.
on Saved by the Bell always have like chocolate covered crickets he was handing out to people or something?
Really?
I think so. The definition of Pandorum. Pandorum is a slang term for orbital dysfunction syndrome. And they talked about this a little bit in the movie.
Oh, does it really exist?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
But I have a definition from Urban Dictionary. A disease founded by emotional triggers, usually found in deep space missions, a feeling of fear, thinking you can't be saved. You may find yourself in a state of Pandorum or extreme fear of being alone, thinking there's nothing left, usually causes craziness.
And that is the Urban Dictionary definition of Pandorum.
Exactly. That's the Urban Dictionary. And it's not a real condition because it's based on prolonged time and space. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I feel like we're slowly giving you Pandorum.
I think that's why I connected so strongly to this movie. I feel like I've been in the stasis pod for
I feel like we're the other 2 people in this flight group.
We're going to die, Mikey.
Oh, yeah. I will definitely be the one that murders everyone.
I like how we just high-fived our deaths at the hands of Jen.
I'm burning it down, guys. All right. So I've got one more fun fact.
Awesome.
You guys might be interested in this now.
I'm interested in all your fun facts, Jen.
Oh, thank you, Todd.
At least I'm up there.
Yeah, you check in and out. If nobody's texting you, you're into it. Yeah. All right. So there is a Facebook group called Fans for a Pandorum Sequel.
Oh,
and
I would join that.
The writer and the director have joined it too. So you'd be in good company. So listeners, if you want to get this sequel made, join that Facebook group and also join our Facebook group because we're the best. And that's my fun facts.
Well, let's do Scary Scale, Jen.
All right, Scary Scale. Hey, listeners. Our Scary Scale is a ranking of how scared we were when we watched this movie today. It's not a ranking of the quality of the film. It's how scared we were when we watched it today. Our 1 example is Ghostbusters, and our 10 example is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All right, Todd, what you got?
I think I'm going to give it a 3.
All right.
It wasn't super, super scary, and it was more sci-fi than scary, but it was still really good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'd ever watch it again, but that should not be an indictment of the movie. It was just scary, and I don't like scary stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, if my buddy was like, hey, do you want to watch this? I probably would. I just wouldn't seek it out myself to watch it again because of the scary elements, but it's honestly great.
No, I thought it was really good too. All right, Mikey?
Would you give it?
3.
You give it your own number. You don't need to know Todd's number.
I think I'm just going to give it a 2. I think it's because I've seen it too much.
You've seen it too much.
There's a couple of jump scares, but really it's still a good movie, but it just didn't scare me.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna give it a 3 too. And I was really into it. I thought it was really interesting. I thought the way they built the paranoia, and I thought the depiction of like him kind of slowly losing his grip on reality was really interesting. And the creepy crawlies were scary, and I don't like when people eat other people.
Yeah, I don't like cannibalism that much either. I get it.
Yeah. And again, not a scale of the quality of the movie. We all really liked this movie.
Absolutely. I'd give it a 7 or higher.
Yeah.
And just the fact that I wouldn't watch it again, it should not be an indictment of it either. Like, I just don't like scary stuff. You should see this movie.
You should, yeah.
So this week, the listeners made me watch Pandorum. Oh. What are we watching next week?
Well, speaking of space spiders.
What?
Or secret ocean the whole time spiders, we are going to watch a movie about some earth spiders next week. Mikey has betrayed me once again. We are going to watch Arachnophobia.
I think it'll be fun. I hate spiders, and I'm super scared about it.
Yeah,
I don't like spiders either.
I've only watched this movie once. Scared me.
Yeah,
did it?
It's scary.
Yeah.
It's an older movie, right? Like 90s?
Yeah, 90s.
Okay.
Arachnophobia starring Jeff Daniels and John Goodman. And a bunch of gross spiders.
Yeah, so guys, watch
Arachnophobia
for next week.
Ugh.
But before we leave you, we would like to leave you with a 5-star review. So Mikey is going to read a 5-star review that we got. And if you would like your 5-star review read,
can you read it?
Leave us a 5-star review.
All right, everyone. Mike SN ! Says the hosts have excellent rapport. They've covered some of my favorite films, and this is a very solid listen. It's a great idea for a show.
Oh, thanks.
5 stars.
Thank you very much, Mike SN1.
SN1.
00100.
His title of that review is Fun Idea for a Show.
Oh,
Why, thank you.
Hey, and if you want to leave us a review and you don't know how, we just posted a video about how to do it too. So check that out.
I made that.
Yeah, how would you find that video? Oh, Todd's like flipping his hair around. Like
I'm very proud of that. I have some editing skills or whatever. It's fine.
Just a little bit. You know?
Yeah, it's like my job. So, guys, if you want to follow us on social so you can see that and many other things that I've created, go to horrorvirgin.com on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or go to our website at horrorvirgin.com. There you can find our merch store and also the blog that Jen writes.
Yes.
And I believe you actually just posted a Midsummer blog recently, so check that out.
I got some feelings out about Midsummer.
And if you want to read that blog and then reach out to Jen and say, listen, completely agree with you, how would they do that, Jen? Where would they reach out to you?
At jenferratu@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment on the website.
What are your social channels?
Jen Ferratu on everything.
It's sort of just Jen Ferratu everywhere, whether it's at Gmail or at John Ferratu at Twitter, at Facebook, Instagram. If you want to reach out to Mikey and say, hey, I wish you would write a blog, you would reach out to Mikey at mrandolph24 on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Actually read, Mike.
They read silently.
And I am at Todd J. Awesome on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Of course, all of us are active and very engaged in the Facebook group every day. So guys, please check out the Facebook group and join us there. We have like well over 200 members.
It's like 233 this morning, I think.
That's awesome. It's growing. I think we added 20 members this week or somewhere close to that. It was insane. So thank you guys so much.
Stuff that's only there too.
I posted some Facebook exclusive content this week. Absolutely. Right. And I do that, I don't know, maybe once or twice a week. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So guys, join us there. It's just facebook.com/group/horrorvirgin.
That's right.
I mean, you could find it. It's fucking easy.
Yeah.
So guys, if you want to help financially support the show and help us get better mics and mixer and just gear so we can give you better sound, go to patreon.com/horrorvirgin and sign up for one of the levels there. You get a lot of great perks. And we're working on more content for that medium. So you guys will get even more shortly. And if you can't financially support us, please, just continue to tell your friends and family about the podcast because that helps a lot.
It really does. It means a lot to us.
We are literally on track to have another record-breaking month in a row of record-breaking months.
I know.
Which
I still
is
kind of can't believe anybody listens to it at all.
And it's like, when we first started doing this.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It is. When we first started doing this, I was like, well, we'll do it for a few months. It'll be a fun thing that I'll learn how to produce podcasts off of. And this is
then
never
you brought me on
stop.
and we got serious.
Yeah. Finally. Someone to take things seriously.
Yeah, Mikey does do all the serious details of everything.
I connect with the everyman.
He's our color commentary for sure.
So we are a member of the Modern Horrors Podcast Network. So if you follow us there, please check out our feed if you want to get the show 2 days earlier. But if you're listening to us in their feed, you're also getting the wonderful Final Girls podcast and the wonderful Death, Dying, and Other Things podcast,
and
occasionally Modern Horrors podcast.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be it from us, everybody. Thank you for watching Pandorum. Yeah, I'm starting to freak out, and I'm probably going to kill you guys pretty soon.
Oh my God!
Eject myself.
Why is your nose bleeding?
I never learned to Pandorum.
Okay, now you're just a milk robot. Now we're talking alien again.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us for Pandorum. Listeners, thank you so much for requesting and voting on Pandorum.
Absolutely.
We really liked this movie. Thanks for hanging out with us. That's going to be it from from us tonight, guys. I don't know why I said it weird, but
I liked it.
I know.
I liked it.
Hey guys,
Very
that's
Tonight
gonna
Show.
be it. Yeah, I think we need like a musical number.
Have a safe drive to work or whatever, and then have a great week.
Yeah. Oh, I'm Jen.
Oh, shit. I'm Mikey.
And I'm your horror virgin Todd, guys.
I'm going to find a catchphrase next week.
Good luck, Mikey.
I don't know about that.
Bye.
Nerds.
Oh, Mikey, you have a beautiful voice. Wow, you got voice shamed by Jim. Was like, meh.
Dude, I was a music teacher. I have high standards.
Yeah, because in elementary school, kids have excellent voices.
When they're my students, they do.
I can't sing. You went to karaoke with me.
It was beautiful.